It's 40,000 years ago. Night. You're crouched by a fire in a river valley in what is now southern Germany. The fire is small. The dark is not. Something shifts in the trees. You don't think, what was that? Your body has already answered. Your heart is going. Your head is up. And somewhere under the thinking part of your brain, a much older part has made a decision. Someone is out there. Maybe it was a wolf. Maybe it was wind and dead leaves. It doesn't matter, because that flinch, that instant, unstoppable certainty that the dark is looking back at you, is one of the oldest things about you. Older than farming. Older than language as we'd recognize it. Older than every religion that ever existed. And it might be exactly where God's came from. Here's the part people skip past. Every human society we've ever found, every single one, on every continent, in every climate, had something. Spirits, ancestors, sky beings, forces with intentions, not one confirmed exception, and belief was never free. It was expensive. At Sungir in Russia, roughly 34,000 years ago, people buried 2 children with something like 10,000 mammoth ivory beads between them. Archaeologists who tried recreating those beads with stone tools estimate roughly 45 minutes to an hour of work per bead. Do that math. Thousands of hours of labor, ivory spears, carved pendants, all of it put in a hole in the ground and covered up. Think about what that means in a world where you are always 3 bad days from starving. Those hours weren't spent hunting. They weren't spent making better spears or better clothes or shelter. They were spent decorating the dead. Evolution is not sentimental. It does not tolerate expensive habits that do nothing. Antlers that are too heavy, feathers that are too bright, those get punished, unless they're paying for themselves somehow. So belief must have been doing something. The question isn't really, why did ancient humans believe in gods? It's this, what was so useful about it that we paid this much? And here's the turn. The best answer we have isn't that ancient humans sat down and invented gods. It's that they couldn't stop. Go back to the fire, the rustle in the trees. Your brain had 2 ways to be wrong. Wrong option 1. It's a predator, and you decide it's the wind. You relax, you die. Wrong option 2. It's the wind, and you decide it's a predator. You freeze. You waste 20 seconds and some adrenaline. You feel a little foolish. You live. Those 2 mistakes do not cost the same. Over hundreds of thousands of years, that asymmetry sculpts a brain. Not a brain that's accurate, a brain that's jumpy in one specific direction. Cognitive scientists have a name for this tendency. They often call it a hyperactive agency detection device. The short version. When something moves and you can't explain it, your default assumption is that someone did it. Not something. Someone. A mind. With intentions. You still have this. You have it right now. A door creaks in an empty house and you feel watched. A shape in the corner of your eye becomes a person for half a second. You trip over a chair leg and, be honest, you get angry at the chair. That's not superstition. That's ancient survival software, still running, in a world with no predators left in the grass. Now hand that brain a thunderstorm, because the sky moves too. Rivers rise and drown a camp. The ground shakes. Something invisible pushes trees flat and then goes quiet. A disease empties half a village and leaves the rest untouched. To a mind built to detect intentions, none of that reads as physics. It reads as behavior. And behavior means someone is behaving. The anthropologist Stuart Guthrie made this argument decades ago. We don't see faces in clouds because we're primitive. We see faces in clouds because seeing faces was worth more than being right. So layer 1 is a mind that sees agents everywhere. Layer 2 is worse. Layer 2 is death. At Shanidar Cave in northern Iraq, Neanderthals were placing bodies in the same spot, apparently deliberately, tens of thousands of years ago. There's a famous claim that one of them was buried on a bed of flowers. And I want to be careful here because that specific interpretation is heavily disputed. Later researchers suggested the pollen may have been carried in by burrowing rodents. It's a hypothesis, not a settled fact. But the burials themselves are real, and by the time you reach Sungir, the pattern is undeniable. You don't spend thousands of hours dressing a body for a journey unless, somewhere in your head, you think there's a journey. Layer 3 is the strangest one. In a cave in Germany called Hohenstein-Stadel, Archaeologists recovered hundreds of fragments of mammoth ivory. Reassembled, they form a standing figure about 30 centimeters tall, a human body, the head of a cave lion. It's roughly 40,000 years old. A modern craftsman using replica flint tools tried to carve one from scratch and needed somewhere in the region of 400 hours. Sit with that. Someone, in an ice age, gave up hundreds of hours of daylight, hunting time, tool time, survival time, to make a creature that does not exist. That's the moment, not the first god, but the first proof that a human mind could hold something impossible, care about it enough to sacrifice for it, and get other people to feed them while they did. Which brings us to a hill in southeastern Turkey. Göbekli Tepe. Roughly 11,600 years ago, enormous T-shaped limestone pillars, arranged in circles, some over 5 meters tall, some weighing around 10 tons, carved with foxes, scorpions, vultures, snakes, and on several of them, arms, hands, belts. They're not decoration, they're figures, human-like, faceless. Now the part that broke the timeline. This was built before pottery, before metal, before the wheel, before writing, and, as far as we can tell, before farming. Hunter-gatherers did this. People with no cities, no kings, no crops, quarried and hauled and raised 10-ton stones in the shape of beings that were not human. I have to flag the debate honestly. When Göbekli Tepe was first excavated, it was described as the world's oldest temple, built by people who then settled around it. More recent work has found evidence of domestic life on the site. Houses, water systems, which suggests it may have been a settlement with monumental architecture, rather than a pilgrimage site in an empty landscape. That argument is still live. But it doesn't rescue the comfortable story. Either way, people who did not yet farm were pouring astonishing amounts of labor into stone beings, and some researchers push it further. That shared belief was the thing that let large groups cooperate at all. That watchful, moralizing gods, the kind who care what you do when nobody's looking, let strangers trust strangers, which let villages become cities. That's a hypothesis too, and it's contested. But it flips the story we usually tell. We assume civilization invented religion. It's at least possible it happened the other way around. So, why did ancient humans believe in gods? Not because they were stupid, not because they lacked science. They were you, with the same brain, in a world that gave them almost no information and killed them for guessing wrong. They believed because a mind that assumes someone is out there survives a mind that assumes nothing is. Because a species that could imagine a lion-headed man could also imagine next winter, and a plan, and each other. Because when your people vanish into the ground, the alternative to a journey is unbearable. We didn't invent gods to explain the world. We invented them because the same reflex that saved us in the dark could not stay quiet once the dark got bigger than the trees. And you still have it. Somewhere out there in the grass, right now, something moves. And before you've even turned your head, an old part of you has already decided. Someone is watching.